The Utah Jazz are one of the more interesting teams in the NBA. They have acquired a large amount of draft picks and young talent to go with a couple of aging pieces, and this is not the first time we have seen their owner or their GM do this. Lauri Markkanen had a breakout season. Colin Sexton proving he can still be a good piece, and then Walker Kessler a phenomenal rookie year. And as I mentioned, we have seen Danny Ainge pull off these shenanigans before, building Boston into a dynasty. So before we get started, make sure to like button and leave me a comment down below, as it would really help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Now let's go ahead and get started looking at their off-season preview, their off-season guide, if you will. Now they have some big decisions to make when it comes to the draft this year, as just in the first round, they have the 9th pick projected. Of course, the lottery is not for about 8 more days. They have the 16th overall pick and the 28th overall pick. Their key free agents, well, they really have none. There's nobody that they are absolutely dying to go re-sign. They also have about $41 million in cap space with their 2 best players locked up for the next 4 years, so they can try and make a splash and then still have all this young talent on rookie contracts if they so please. If not, we'll see what happens. But here we go, starting off with the draft. At number 9, here are 3 options for them. Taylor Hendricks, Azor Thompson, and Cam Whitmore. We'll start with Azor Thompson. Don't think he falls all the way to 9, but if they do jump up a little bit, that would be in the Azor Thompson range. He and the men are going to be top 10 athletes in the NBA as soon as they get drafted. I mean, just freakishly athletic. Now, Azor's a better shot maker, but he's not a very good shot maker. Amin more the point guard. So Azor, his draft stock's kind of falling, but there's still so much raw potential there. Cam Whitmore, another guy here. He's honestly probably going to be a little bit higher on my list than Azor. Not as good of a perimeter defender, but man, he can make some tough shots. He takes some tough shots, but he makes them sometimes, kind of like a Michael Porter Jr. effect. You win some, you lose some. Taylor Hendricks here, don't think he's going to hang around till 9. I don't think he gets past the Pacers if the draft lottery or if the draft order kind of sticks where it's at now. We'll see, but I don't think that's happening. He's just shooting up draft boards right now, and with the lottery coming up, you know, pre-draft scouting about to get underway, I just don't think there's any way he stays outside of the top 5. Now, looking at where they could go with their 16th overall pick, Bryce Sensabaugh would be cool, 6'6", about 230. Big, thick kid. He would be a very nice addition to this Jazz squad. A very efficient scorer while he was at Ohio State, and I expect that to translate into the NBA kind of like it did for Malachi Branham last year, another talented freshman for the Buckeyes. Chris Murray, a guy that very similar to his brother Keegan Murray. I mean, they look absolutely identical. The only reason you can tell them apart is by number. So I think Chris is going to translate over to the NBA very nicely. I mean, he's, a soph? No, I think he's a junior. So he is a bit older. I know he's not a freshman. He's a bit older, but still, I think he will translate very nicely into the NBA. His brother was a big-time contributor on a playoff team this year. And then Jet Howard, not sure. Might be a bit of a reach at 16, but a guy with a lot of upside. Now, it's going to take him a little while. He's going to be very inefficient at first, but there's a lot of upside there on a guy like Jet Howard if you can develop him. And then at 28, a couple of other developmental pieces here. Ryan Rupert from the NBL. He's going to be kind of like an Osmoon. Goodness gracious, what in the world? Ousmane Dieng, I believe is how you pronounce it. Had a little bit of a tongue twister there. I think they're going to be similar in they're going to get a lot of pre-draft buzz. You know, Dieng went in the lottery last year. I think he's going to get a lot of pre-draft buzz as a guy. You know, obviously not as tall as long, but still got some potential there. A lot of potential. And then Dylan Mitchell, another guy out of Texas, projects to be an elite defender at the NBA level. Just not too much of a scorer, so we'll see how that turns out. But a couple of swing for the fences options there at 28. Now, free agency. Here are a couple of guys that I want them to target. Dylan Brooks first. Hear me out. I know a lot of people are hating on Dylan Brooks, but he's still not in his prime yet. If they can get him to know his role alongside these young guys, he's a good 3-and-D player on a good year. Now, he had a horrible year this year. 32% from 3, 39% from the field. But he thinks he's Steph Curry with the kind of shots he's taking. That's why his efficiency is so horrible. If he, catch and shoot threes, Dylan, or drive into the basket. Obviously, he's an elite defender. He's a guy that you can throw maybe $10 million at because the market will be way down on him because he could potentially be going to Shanghai. We'll see. And then Aaron Holiday, a guy coming over from the Atlanta Hawks. I think he would give them good point guard depth. You don't really have a backup point guard right now unless you want to take one in the draft. So Aaron Holiday, if you want to sign him, I like him as a backup point guard. I mean, his last name's Holiday, elite defender. If you're born into the Holiday family, that's your trait that you get. Now, looking at all of these picks, Danny Ainge loves him some picks. We'll start off in this year, we already talked about it, 9, 16, and 28. 9, of course, projected. Then in 2024, their first-round pick is in Oklahoma City. So they're going to have to try and be competitive, which is kind of why I said, hey, sign Dillon Brooks. You're going to try to compete next year. But then in 2025, they have Minnesota's. They have their own, and they have Cleveland's. If Minnesota implodes or if Cleveland implodes, that'd be a nice pick there. 2026, they got some sort of a pick swap with Minnesota and Cleveland, and then you can pause and read the rest. 2027, they got Cleveland, their own, and the Lakers. That's a great pick to have. Of course, remember, they were able to snatch up that ultra-valuable 2027 Lakers pick this year at the deadline. That does not get talked about enough, how Danny Ainge was able to do that. Now, looking at a projected lineup for the Jazz next year, we've got Colin Sexton, Cam Whitmore, Dillon Brooks, Lauri Markkanen, and Walker Kessler. I like this a lot. I think this is a lineup that can compete for a play-in spot, depending on how well Cam Whitmore does his rookie year. That'll obviously be the Achilles heel of this team. And Colin Sexton, not a guy that loves to pass, but he's proven he can go for 20 a night on not a winning team, but a decent team in the league. And then Lauri Markkanen's proven he can go for 20 a night. Dillon Brooks, great role player when he knows his role. And then Walker Kessler, elite rim protector, and he can score in the paint. And then Cam Whitmore. It's all going to depend on him as far as this starting lineup for how good they are next year. The bench should be pretty good as well. You look at it, Aaron Holiday, maybe not the best backup point guard in the world. Maybe they take one at 28, but, he's serviceable. Jordan Clarkson's been a great sixth man for quite a few years now for the Utah Jazz. Ochai Agbaji, people forget about how good he was coming out of Kansas. Looks to project as a phenomenal 3-and-D wing down the line in the future. And then you got Chris Murray and Kelly Olynyk in the front court coming off the bench. So yes, they will be depending on a decent amount of rookies. But if everything goes decently well next year in terms of progression, guys growing into their second year, I think this could be a team that is somewhat decent next year. And then, of course, you got your late round pick in the draft that you can also try and develop, or you got Taylor Horton-Tucker from the Lakers, kind of an extra sweetener to get that first round pick. So a lot of guys that the Jazz have this year that can play, Taylor Horton-Tucker, young guy. Obviously they got 3 rookies coming in, Walker Kessler, Ochai Agbaji, both rookies this last year. So we'll see how it turns out, but I think this is a team. Watch out for Ochai. He's a guy that I think will be the X factor this year. If he can turn into like an OG Anunoby type with that elite defender and can grow and progress offensively, then I think he's going to be a huge piece for this Jazz team down the line. Maybe I could be completely wrong there. Let me know your thoughts on Ochai down in the comments below. But with that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like button and leave me a comment down below if you did enjoy today's video at any point. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video.